Hello and welcome to another episode of Earth911's Sustainability in Your Ear. And today we're talking with an innovative paper and fiber manufacturing company, Sustana Group. Our guest is Michele Bartolini, and she's the Senior Marketing Director of the organization. Michele, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Mitch.
Well, now you guys are doing a number of interesting circular economy projects. You've worked with Starbucks. You have both a fiber company, which gathers and recycles fibers for use in food packaging. That's the Sustana Group. And then you have Rolland Paper, which is a 130-year-old paper business, which is also focused heavily on recovering and reusing paper in its manufacturing. How has the cradle-to-cradle approach that you describe, and if you could talk a little about that, we'd appreciate it. How's it affected the business, and is it a good business move to have done this?
Well, I would say the business move is actually more and more in demand, more than ever in the past couple of years. I think we're definitely in a good position. We started the recycled paper on the Rolland side of our business, which is definitely all about commercial paper and fine specialty papers. We started doing recycling in 1984, and you can imagine back then the perception of recycled paper, where today it's actually more and more in demand. It actually looks like a virgin white paper, but it's made with 100% recycled papers. So majority of the recycled content, the fiber, is from office sorted paper. And on our other mill, our fiber mill, we started in 2014 having the recycled pulp, where we actually take most of the recycled fibers from sorted office papers, but we also not only limit ourselves from that, we also recycle cartons and cups. Especially cups, they have one of the best fibers in them. And the reason we're able to do that is we've invested in a very high technology, proprietary technology that enables us to remove the polyliner of some of the packaging, the cups and food packaging for hot stuff that we put inside. Right. So we're quite unique in what we do.
Well, and the idea of being able to drink from a Starbucks cup or to eat food from a box that has been fully consumer recycled it's encouraging. How has the embrace of sustainability changed Sustana's business performance? I mean, one of the things we often hear is it doesn't pay dividends, or at least people make that assumption. But you all are clearly thriving in this environment.
Yeah, I would say we have 400 employees in Canada and U.S., so we are definitely thriving as an organization. We are privately held. It's a business that is growing. We've acquired recently Starbucks as a major customer. We have a lot of other big names that are in the pipeline at the moment, trialing out some of our fiber for their packaging solutions. What it is that's driving this market more than ever is the consumer, who's asking these end users. And I'm going to give you an example like McDonald's, which we've seen in the media saying that they're going to have recycled content in all their packaging by 2025. You have Starbucks as well making announcements for their end users saying that by 2022 they will have recycled content in their cups. And this, I would say, bandwagon has just taken off for us, to be honest.
Well, no, you do a great job also of doing annual reporting about the impact you have in your manufacturing and across your supply chain. And can you talk a little about how much water, for instance, you're saving and how much energy compared to using virgin materials?
Yeah, so we definitely believe in transparency. Both our mills have had a life cycle assessment by a professional firm, a third party that has assessed our environmental footprint. And I have to say, on our paper side, I'm very proud to say that we use alternative energy, which is called biogas. And that type of alternative energy is really an 8-mile pipeline from a garbage dump, and we actually capture 100% of the methane being released from the garbage that's decomposing, and we convert that into energy to power our paper plant. So 93% of our energy is from biogas. That
Wow.
allows us to really lower our carbon emissions in terms of when we do the production of our paper. And as well, we've invested in technology for water consumption. So on the paper side, we actually recycle our water 30 times before putting it back out into the river system. And the water that goes out is cleaner than what comes in. And we use 17% less water in the production of our products on the paper mill. On the other side of our pulp business, the other angle we have on the environment is we actually process 2.2 million pounds of waste paper every day. That allows us every year to recycle enough paper to reduce landfill space by over 1 million cubic yard, which saves over 4 million trees. So we really make sure that we invest in a wastewater treatment technology. The byproducts that we have as well from the production of our products, we transform it into animal bedding for farmland. So we really, really try to embrace a circular economy and closing the loop on our sustainable manufacturing.
So even the materials that aren't useful in the next generation of product could be sent off for animal bedding, for instance. So you're using every part of the buffalo you bring down.
Yes, we try. Whatever materials we can salvage to reuse and to put back into the earth, we do.
Well, let's talk about the Starbucks relationship, because last year you did a trial with them and
yes.
Prevented the landfilling of millions of cups. How's that going, and what can consumers expect to see in cup technology over the next couple of years that they should be looking out for?
I think for the cup technology, for the consumer, it's transparent to the eyes. It's not something they can definitely see. But what you can see while you're at a Starbucks shop is you can see that their cups have 10% recycled content added to it. That is our EnviroLife FDA-approved pulp, which we use in that fabrication of the cup. What we do is we work with different suppliers along the chain. So we've worked with three different suppliers, that the paper mill that fabricates So we work with the paper mill that actually fabricates the cup stock. And then from that cup stock, it's sent to a converter. So we work through the supply chain to educate people that it is possible to leverage paper stock to make a cup with recycled content in it. So it's been going very well with Starbucks. They have been continuing this process with us. We continue to pick up some of their cups to re-put in our pulper and use the whole manufacturing process to give out the end use of recycled pulp.
So would a coffee consumer, and I'm a heavy one, one of Starbucks' best customers, I bet, tens of thousands of my dollars, should we be looking for that number on the cup to rise from 10% to 20% or 30%? Is that something that is feasible, or do you need to use virgin materials in every generation of cup as well?
Yeah, there is a portion of virgin materials. They do have a plan by 2022 to increase the recycled content in their cup. Unfortunately, I can't answer the percentage. That's up to Starbucks to define, but there is a plan for them by 2022 to increase the content that is existing in their cup. At the moment, it is 10%.
So how do consumers find, for instance, Rolland paper that's 100% recycled? What should they be looking for, and how should they ask for it? That seems to be, like you said, the most important element here is communicating it through the various distributors so that they select these kinds of products and we get more of them in the market.
I agree with you, definitely. So a lot of our information can be found on our website on RollandInc.com. or SustanaGroup.com. Most of our papers are sold through a distributor to the printer. So that's just the chain. We do not sell directly as a paper company, Rolland. What the consumer can do for any annual reports or marketing or designs or catalogs or books is simply work with their merchants or their printers to request 100% recycled paper, which is Rolland in our Enviro line. In terms of the pulp, we can ask the end user, like Starbucks, ask their converter to speak to their paper mill where they buy their cup stock to make the cup to have recycled content. So that's how the discussion would be started.
So we're talking about the ability to track and to understand our impact as a consumer. How do you see technology playing a bigger part? You're publishing your annual reports, both the life cycle impact analysis and your general sustainability report. How do you see disseminating that information more broadly so people can make these decisions? Or do you think that that's really where we need to go?
Yes, I agree. Definitely. I think educating the end user or the end consumer is very important. The product does exist. There is a way that we can definitely change our society today by making these requests from where we buy our products from and asking a little bit more of the questions. For us, what I've done as the marketing director for the Sustana Fiber and Rolland is really what I'm doing is putting out this information on our websites, on social media, going to any events to present our positioning ourselves in certain, industries or getting people to understand that this exists. It is possible. We have a tangent result from our paper, from our fiber that we make. And I thought as well, if you're going to be a sustainable organization, it was very important for us to have a sustainability report. And one of the things that I wanted to do is align with the SDGs. And for us to be aligned with the global SDGs is putting us in a different level playing field compared to other pulp and paper mills. And where we align with in the SDGs is definitely, being an innovative manufacturer. We do give back to the communities we work in, especially hiring a lot where we are, our mills are. We hire a lot within our community. And of course, responsible consumption, where we've put in place some programs to, especially with two other councils, the Denver Council and the Wisconsin Council, where we have asked them to put separate bins to collect cups and to collect paper, to bring them back to our facilities so we can reuse that fiber to produce more fiber. So it avoids to go in a landfill.
So one of the ways that consumers might be able to drive this is to reach out to their municipal leaders and seek to get these kinds of extra bins.
Correct. And that's what we've done with the Denver Council and with the Wisconsin Council.
So you mentioned the local nature of the production. Does sustainability scale when you have to ship it halfway across the world in order for somebody to reuse it? Or do you expand regionally in order to create more locally driven fiber capture and recycling?
So one of the sustainability of so we have wet lap. So our FDA pulp or our EnviroLife pulp is wet lap. It is not dry. So we do have a limited radius that we can cover. Most of the mills are within the region of our Sustana Fiber, which is in De Pere, Wisconsin. So a lot of the mills are already in that area where they produce a lot of the food packaging, the cups, cartons. So we are within the radius of that manufacturing facility. In terms of our paper, in terms of shipping, we ship our paper across Canada and US. We do look at transport companies that have an ecological means to their transport with the lowest carbon emissions. So we do have trucking companies that have side skirts to lower the carbon emission on their transport.
Good. So you're really thinking about the entire supply chain. That's fantastic.
Yes.
What would you say the biggest three changes that we could make as a society to improve the collection of materials and recycled fibers might be? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely think recently we've had a big influx of this discussion since there's been a ban with the U.S. and China for the garbage being exported overseas. We have to relook in our own backyard how we are processing garbage. I think one of the first things is that our collection system that captures garbage needs to be looked at. They unfortunately are inconsistent across North America. Many sorting centers lack the resources needed to separate the waste. We are very focused on a linear stream. instead of having multiple streams to collect different types of garbage. I think that's something that needs to be discussed, and how to improve our garbage collection, and as a society, impose that on our municipalities or on our councils.
So the other thing that really stands out in what you just said is that the consumer, by sorting more effectively at home, and I think they actually do this and it gets mixed back up in the single stream system we have now, could make the biggest impact. I mean, if we were making sure that our cups, our paper plates, or whatever it is that people might be using, are being gathered in one bin so that they could be taken directly to a paper specialist, that would be a more efficient way of going about this than the sorting system that you were just describing.
Correct. The consumer has more power than they think. They are the one who's actually taking the dollar out of their pocket to purchase an item. So they are ultimately, the force driving the demand in the supply chain and the change.
The power of the consumer is really, it's so important that we understand that we do drive the decisions that businesses make. And it's great to see that Sustana has embraced this circular thinking. What's next in the next year for Sustana that we should be keeping an eye out? Are there new products or new partnerships that you would like us to watch for?
Yeah, I think the product is definitely relatively new on the marketplace. I definitely think that we could keep our eye out for new partnerships for bigger companies than Starbucks, and that we are in discussion with and are trialing our product. So very excited where we're going for the future.
Fantastic.
And I just wanted to say that the consumer cannot forget that together we can make the change of the discourse of creating a systematic change, and it makes truly a difference. Together we can create that closed-loop fiber future.
That's great. And do please keep us up to date on what you're doing. We'd love to have you back to talk about it more as this continues to evolve.
Thank you, Mitch. I really appreciate your time and for having me today.
Well, thank you. That's Michele Bartolini. She's the Senior Marketing Director at Sustana Group, and you can find them at sustanagroup.com. Sustana is spelled Sustana, and there's a wealth of information there to check out. And of course, we'll be checking in with Sustana in the future. Thanks, Michele. We will be back with another episode of Sustainability in Your Ear soon. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe. Thanks for your attention today, folks. And do remember, you can make a difference. We'll talk soon.